Blog Talk Radio.
Well, it's great to be back. This is Ted Hicks with Late Night Parents. You can find me on Twitter at Real Ted Hicks. You can also find me at Late Night Parent. You can find us on Facebook.com/Late Night Parents. And lastly, you can find us on the portal, LateNightParents.com. We're here live once again. I guess we're doing double duty on the Imagination Network. A lot of good stuff going on, folks. Take a quick moment of silence for those folks that were a lot of bad things happening in San Bernardino, California right now. A lot of lives lost. Story is still unraveling on what is going on out there. So I don't want to start with any rhetoric or anything else like that, but I wanted to take a moment out for those folks to talk about what's happening in the world today. This past week, we experienced something called family time with Thanksgiving. I don't know about you, but I had a great Thanksgiving. It was wonderful, always seeing family. I spent it down in Prince George, Virginia, ever down in the 804 area code area. Prince George, with a lot of family members. Got to see my brother-in-law, who was just recently in a motorcycle accident. He's coming along well. So I thank you, the folks who's reached out with text messages and hit me up on direct messages asking about him. And I always tell him people are asking and giving their prayers and well wishes for his a quick, speedy recovery. So we spent, I guess tonight we have on board Ms. Darby Fox. She's a child and adolescent family therapist. She has over 20 years of experience providing individual and group therapy in both the nonprofit and private settings. Darby's going to be with us shortly. But I just wanted to talk briefly about how was your Thanksgiving? You know, did you eat too much? Did you know what to say at the dinner table to your loved ones? Did you really mean it? Did it come from the heart? Or did you fill it up with idle, cliches and looking at sports and how about them Cowboys where they got thrashed? Sorry to hear about Tony Romo. But I can tell you, just to share with you real briefly how I spent it. Spent it with family and friends, sitting amongst each other. Had a great time at the Hilton also while I was down there. So, but I got to tell you, the one quick story before Ms. Darby Fox joins us is, I don't know about you, I specifically did not want to leave on Wednesday because Wednesday was, I guess, categorized as the busiest day of the year to be on the highway. So I begged and pleaded to my wife, can we leave Wednesday morning? Can we leave Tuesday night? Well, unfortunately for me, but fortunately for her, we left Wednesday, 4 p.m. Folks, I got to tell you, it took me about 3 hours to get out of New York before, it was just traffic filled. But when you think about it, overall, I had a good time. I left at 4. I arrived in my destination at about 1:30 in the morning. Like I said, shared times with friends. Headed back to New York on Saturday. And from there, I think it took another 2.5 hours to get out of Virginia before I hit Washington, before I headed back to Long Island. So I'm not sure about you guys, but driving out there on I-95 during the holiday was, outrageous. But along with that, tonight's show is called Cyber. I have it listed as Cyber Monday. I should have listed it as Cyber Week, because there's all different types of sales and everything going on, and everything's being pushed down your throat about, sell. We can get the shipment to you in a couple of days. After our featured guest is on tonight, we're going to talk real briefly about halting hackers for the holidays. Because, October itself was Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but it should be every month. Because right now, I don't know if you know, we're getting close to 1 billion records of identity theft. That's more than 3 times our entire population in the United States. So nearly 2/3 of the Americans have heard or read something about online safety or security issues recently. And yet consumers, still say they don't take the steps to stay safe online because they lack information or knowledge. So we're going to have the information later on about that. But I think our featured guest is in the queue, and we had some telecom problems earlier tonight. But luckily, the good people at Rubenstein PR were able to come through in the clutch for me. I have our good friend, or our new friend, Darby Fox on the line. I'm going to introduce her right now. Darby, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you so much for taking the time out tonight. And I know there was a lot of last-second jockeying going back and forth with phone numbers, but we had a conference bridge issue tonight, so thank you for being so flexible.
Oh, good. I'm glad I made it.
Yes, you definitely made it. I was so concerned. I had someone else manning the switchboard for that other conference bridge just in case, so that you could be redirected over here. But I would say within the last month and a half, I was your friends at Rubenstein PR sent me a blog post about signs for parents that their child is being bullied. The Child and Adolescent Family Therapist, Darby Fox, we're glad to have you. We want to share what to do if our child is a victim of bullying and how to recognize if our child is a bully. I for one, have an 8-year-old and 14-year-old, and I don't want to say my 8-year-old is oversized, but he's the biggest kid in the class. So I'm always on top of him just to make sure, like, hey, make sure you're not pushing anyone around. Make sure, the horsing around is kept to a minimum because of his size. But I guess you can recommend some tips to parents who suspect their child is a victim of bullying. So I'm going to decrease, and I want you to increase and tell us, tell the parents, how to suspect if their child is a victim of bullying.
Well, the first thing that gives you an indication that something's going wrong is you'll probably notice your child withdrawing from certain activities, whether it's school, sports, they will want to avoid or stay away. And a kid that's being bullied feels kind of like they're not adequate, so they're not going to come right out and say it to you until things are bad. They're kind of going to withdraw because they'll think it's them. So once you start to notice that your kid is maybe withdrawing more than they should or than they used to, that's a good time to start to think about what may be going on, what changed in their environment. And you'll see sadness. If you see crying or anything like that, that's obviously a sign. But the best way to start is by not asking them directly, are you being bullied? Because you'll have a sense something's wrong. You want to kind of ask them questions like, who do you hang out with on recess? Who are your friends? What do you do? Are you alone? Why don't you want to go to the birthday party? Things like that. not direct questions, is somebody bullying you? And you will, again, the answers will give you the information you need to know what's happening before it gets really bad.
Gotcha. I just want to jump in here and ask you, and maybe I should have waited, Darby, because I'm going to say, okay, there was the bullying. So I'm 45, and there was bullying that I don't want to say the conventional way, but now there's the cyber piece of it that's included. Like, when and where and how should our antennas go up for the cyber piece?
Bullying is a really tough piece. That can be way more intense because, unfortunately, at the age that kids start to be on the internet and Facebook and Snapchatting and all of that, while it's probably too young, it's an age where parents have started to back away from their kids' social interaction. So you get the early teens, probably 11, 12, 13, and kids not only are very mean that way, they're doing stuff that parents really aren't aware of. Parents aren't on Facebook and things like that. And that is a time when we really should be engaged and have all of our kids' passwords. We should know exactly what's going on with them so we can watch for that cyberbullying, because that can be some of the most harmful kind.
Darby, I got to jump in here and say, it was about 8 months ago at the local library in Hempstead, New York. I was asked to speak to some of the youth there, and I was really, really excited and charged up about it because I said, okay, and I kind of feel like I can connect with my children because I try to stay in tune to some of the music they listen to, not all of it, but some of the music they listen to, and some of the TV shows that they're watching, and kind of, just maybe it's me trying to stay young, but I just am the type of parent that wants to be in the know. So long story, but the short version is I sat there amongst about 12 youth aged maybe 8 to about 16. During that time span, I took out my iPhone and I said, I need everyone to stand up if you have a mobile phone. And basically, of the number of youth, everyone stood up. And I said, oh my goodness, because just knowing that the internet is, it's not locked down, it's wide open, I was kind of taken back because I said, I know most of their parents aren't in the know and aren't using Facebook and Snapchat and the one thing I said to them is, have you ever said anything hurtful using one of those apps? And almost everyone raised their hands.
Yeah, because there's no accountability. You can just send it and it's gone, and no one's looking at you, no one's holding you accountable.
Yeah, that's true. So I have to ask you this. If my child is, if I think that my child is potentially being bullied, some of the tips that you just gave us, what should I do before totally stepping in and jumping in to get involved?
Well, when you first start to figure it out, or you're pretty sure that's what's happening, you want to talk to your child about approaching whoever is doing the bullying and ask them if they think they can. What would be the hardest part about confronting a bully? And so you encourage them, if it's school or on Facebook, like what is the mode? You want to encourage them to stand up for themselves, first off, especially if they're in their teenage years. But as soon as, if they're not able to do it or they've become so traumatized that they won't even consider it, you really need to look to the next step. Is it the school? Is it a teacher you need to contact? You need to get involved with the other people, the other adults that can help advocate for your child, especially at younger age.
At what point should I, as a parent who's a hands-on parent, go to the parent of the child, of the bully?
Once you've noticed that there's a considerable amount of damage, when your child is crying or completely withdrawn socially, whether that again looks different for a teenage kid than it does a 10-year-old. But when a 10-year-old won't go to the birthday party anymore or comes home from